best. You the greatest.
It's one word he said.
I do not feel that it's fair.
That got him fired from his job as a security assistant at West High School.
I made a conscious decision to address the word because it is an epidemic. Our kids use it just every day.
Anderson says a student who was refusing to leave the school pushed the assistant principal, so he felt it was his job to help. That's when the student said this.
He called me a B-I-T, S-S-N-word.
Anderson says no other staff member told the student to stop, and he only said the N-word to tell the student to stop calling him that.
You have no tolerance for a word, but yet you allow a student to call me that word over 15 times without correcting that behavior.
It's the zero tolerance policy for staff saying the racial slur that got Anderson fired, a policy he wants the district to look at.
It's lazy. It's lazy.
He says when it comes to using the word, context is everything.
My father was called this word. My grandmother, my grandfather, and keep going on down the family line. We were all called this word, and not one of them could say, don't call me that. I can. And I shouldn't be punished because I have the right to tell somebody not to call me this word.
MMSD's Board of Education president writes in a statement that while racial slurs have no place in schools, quote, we have also heard from the community about the complexity involved, and it's our duty to examine it. In the meantime, Anderson sees the power of his students' and supporters' words pouring in on social media, now helping him.
Regardless of whatever the future holds for me with the MMSD, I know that I touched a lot of kids.
Okay, forgive me for the volume being low on that audio clip, but that was because it came from CNN and it was just very low, so you could probably hear more so the reporter, more so than the man. But I'm gonna go over it again. But shout out to Nicole's View, because the way I found out about the story was on her Twitter account. So basically what happened was you have this man by the name of Marlon Anderson, who was a high school security guard in Wisconsin, who was recently fired because he basically was defending himself. So what happened was you had this student, who I'm just going to assume was Palm Color, who was getting into it with the assistant principal, and he was, trying to break it up to get the student away from the assistant principal. So the student called him a B-A-N, bitch ass, you know what? And he said it back to him, I guess, like an exchange of words. But instead of actions being taken against the student for not only pretty much assault on the assistant principal, but also for calling this man a racial slur and just being flat out rude and disrespectful, he faces the consequences because he says he tells them what he was called, and he gets fired. Crazy how all of that happens, but it's not so surprising at the same time. They literally let this kid get off scot-free and made this guy lose his job. Now I'm gonna go ahead and read this article and see if we can get some more context. It says an African-American security guard told a student to stop calling him the N-word, and it cost him his job. Marlon Anderson was a security guard at Madison West High School in Wisconsin. Last Wednesday, he was called in to help the assistant principal escort a student off the school grounds. The student was resisting, including yelling and pushing the principal. Anderson called for backup, and the student started yelling racial slurs at him, including, you know what. At first, Anderson said he asked the student to stop calling him that without saying the word, but the student continued to call him different variations of the word. Finally, Anderson said he responded, "Don't call me, you know what." That's the comment that got him fired. Now, amazing how the boy was able to continue calling this man all these things, but the one time that this guy says it to him out of pure frustration, he gets fired. All it took was one incident, because they had to find a way to fire this man. When contacted for comment, the school did not respond directly to Anderson's firing, but said it has a zero tolerance policy for the use of racial slurs. But they just let this kid say it all over the place, and nothing happens. And this guy gets fired after saying it once, out of frustration towards the student that said it to him. He says, "We are working to make our school I don't feel like reading all of that. This is, Anderson doesn't agree with the policy. The district just wants to say you can't use this word, period, he told CNN. These policies are hurting the kids and staff. Without context, this isn't helpful, it's more hurtful. The school board plans on reviewing their approach, Reyes continued in the statement. Anderson is represented by a union which filed a grievance with the school district this week on his behalf. He's seeking reinstatement and back pay, according to a statement from the union. Just give me the back pay. I don't want the reinstatement. The school just let me know how they feel about me, so bump the reinstatement. Just pay me. Anderson has been working at the school district for 11 years. He has two sons who attend Madison West High School. One is a current senior and the other is a graduate of the high school. Anderson isn't without his supporters, though. The Boys and Girls Club of Dane County hired Anderson as its temporary director of program operations. In a Facebook post announcing his hire, the nonprofit wrote that Anderson has an amazing track record with local teens. A CNN affiliate, WKOW, reported that Madison West students staged a walkout on Friday in support of Anderson. And if that wasn't enough, singer Cher even offered to pay his legal fees if he chooses to sue. Well, I hope he chooses to sue. One, because you have a world-renowned superstar who's willing to pay your fees, so that's no money out of your pocket. And two, it's just the right thing to do. Like, the school did him dirty. But it's good to know that this man has a lot of support. That shows that he was very well respected at the school. People loved him. People liked him. And he has a lot of support. He has a huge support system and backing system behind him. So that's good to hear. But as for that school, I say you sue the hell out of them, for real. Because they definitely were in the wrong to fire this man when all he was doing was defending himself. But that goes back to what I've been saying. Black people in this establishment, they do not like when we defend ourselves, especially if you're a black man. They like us in a certain state, and that state is being very docile. Those days are over for many of us. Right now, we are standing up to these individuals, and we're fighting back. And they can't handle it because they're so used to us being seen as in a certain way. But see, also when they run this system, then with the system behind them, that's why they can get away with a lot of the stuff that they've been getting away with for so long. That's when it's called systemic racism. When you can work the system in the way that you want it to work against a certain group of people, that's when it becomes systemic. So it doesn't always have to be, oh, it was racist because someone said the N-word or anything like that. If they can work a system in their favor to literally shut you out or to get you out, that's when it becomes systematic racism. Look at what I just did with the story that just happened a couple of days ago with the 12-year-old who said that he got suspended for 4 days because he hugged his gym teacher. That's systemic racism right there, because they had the power to do so, and they flexed that power. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Okay, so I wanted to come back on here and do an update. And if it wasn't for Seiji Hito, I would not have known about this. And I just also wanted to put this picture up of this man's family with him in it. So apparently, because the community pushed back so hard and various people decided to rally behind Marlon Anderson, he has been reinstated by the union at his former job. Now, me personally, after all that I've been through, if this was me, I probably would not have wanted the job back. But because he has a family to provide for, I can see why he took the job. But he has gone on to say that the fight isn't over. I still hope that there is a lawsuit intact. I can think of a number of reasons why they brought him back in. One, because they know they royally fucked up when they took that little pipsqueak side over his. Excuse me. And also another reasoning being it was stupid to let him go anyway. And it sounded like they had an axe to grind with him. Another reason is because they want that lawsuit to hopefully get dropped, which I hope he does not drop. Keep it open if there's a lawsuit, because that was firing on the grounds of what? The self-defense or, from verbal abuse. And he was helping out one of the administrators. So it's crazy because it doesn't seem like any type of action was taken against the student who escalated the incident. And then, of course, the community got behind him, and they pretty much said that the kids there had pretty much staged a walkout and saying that they were not going to class until he was reinstated. You know what it kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of Lean On Me with Joe Clark, when they arrested him and put him in jail, and all the kids at the school pretty much was walking from the school to the jail shouting, "Free Mr. Clark." And they pretty much had no choice but to free him. And the guy says, "You need to come out here and do something about this." And that's when he came up with that famous line and said, "I ain't got to do nothing but stay black and die." Classic line. And they only wanted to use him because they felt that the students were too rowdy and they couldn't control them. And only he could get them together. But shout out to the community for rallying behind this man and helping him get his job back. He still was railroaded, in my honest opinion. I sincerely hope that he maintains a lawsuit if he does not have one already. And if he doesn't, please do so. After all, the singer Cher says she would help out with his legal fees. So that means that he'll be covered. He doesn't have to pay anything. So any kind of money he would receive, he'll get all of it. Him and his family. But y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I'll talk to you in the next one.